Hi everyone, my name is Olivia Estelle. Today I want to talk about mediumship. What is mediumship? What's the difference when it comes to psychic, medium, channel, all of the different things we hear, clairvoyant, all of those. They're each a different specific thing. Now, mediumship is actually when we're speaking to someone using our psychic abilities who is outside of ourself, and we're speaking to them. Usually it is a deceased loved one, a ghost. It is typically an earthbound spirit. Now, not always. Sometimes it can be another being. It could be, an alien, an animal. I would say animal communication is actually a form of mediumship as well. So, mediumship is when we're not inviting anything into our body to speak through our mouths, we're having a psychic conversation with someone outside of ourselves. We're connecting with someone on a different plane. So, what I love about mediumship is that it really gave me, training in mediumship really gave me an idea of how my psychic senses work. I was in a mediumship training group. It was online, it was all on Zoom. It was a weekly group. I would log in and we would give mediumship readings for each other, where it would just be what I felt like it was just me following my imagination. I would be like, I'm getting a man. He has brown hair. He has a blue shirt. And then I would continue to get more information about this man. And people would say, okay, I can take that. That sounds like, one of my loved ones, someone that I know on the other side. And so over time, I built up confidence knowing, okay, this is what mediumship is. This is how it feels. This is how I work within it. This is how I receive. And for me, it felt actually, at first especially, it felt very like far away, actually, almost like I was making it up, or almost like I was just following my imagination and just letting my imagination tell me something that someone else could take. But I kept trusting it. I kept going with it. I kept doing it. And eventually I would get like a message or something random, like, he said that he always really liked those socks of yours, and that meant something really deep to that person. And then after that started happening, that was when I was like, okay, there must be really something powerful about this. And then I was on the receiving end of so many mediumship readings. I understood what a healing and validating art it really is. And so I know that those people that are on, that are famous, Long Island Medium, those people that can really stand up there and do just mediumship readings, like the Spiritualist Church, that's mediumship. They are directly connecting in to the bandwidth of the astral plane, or of people that are crossed over. And it's typically earthbound spirits or crossed over loved ones. I mean, not necessarily trapped spirits, but it can also be people that are connected to the land. It could also be people connected to a house, or to furniture or objects. Tuning into that level and just getting information about that person and really feeling them, and really feeling their feelings with their loved one, or with that room in the house, or whatever it is, that you're working with as a medium, really. And then you follow it down. You keep going down the rabbit hole, so to speak, because every piece of psychic information, when it comes in, can go even deeper. You can keep going down deeper and deeper levels. Okay, so that was how I began mediumship. Now, mediumship actually isn't my favorite thing to do, but I wanted to understand it. I wanted to get it, so that I felt like, okay, if someone needed to hear from a loved one, that I could do it, because it was something. I did see ghosts as a kid. and I would feel stuff in places and houses. So it wasn't that I wasn't registering on that frequency. It was just more like it's not really it doesn't bring me as much joy as it does for some other people. So some other people that I have worked with are such natural mediums. They're constantly having like dreams about loved ones and dreams and other people's loved ones, and ghosts just kind of seem to come to them. One woman that I spoke to actually recently, she was like, I just keep seeing, I see how people died. I keep seeing the death scene, and that's really traumatic for me. And I really, I don't want to see that. And she's just like, why am I seeing this? There's nothing I can do about it. It's traumatic. It's painful. And that is a really good example of how mediumship can be. It can be just clairvoyant information that could be quite evidential to, say if she was sitting across a loved one of their family members. That's a big piece of evidence. I have actually personally never been good at seeing the way people pass, or seeing, like the way that people have died. That's not necessarily like, I'm not super good at that. But other people, other mediums will be kind of connected, hooked in different ways, and they'll be really good at certain things like that. And it can be incredibly validating and healing and evidential to be able to deliver, that piece of evidence to the loved one. And they're really, okay, you really are connecting, to my loved one. That is how they crossed over. That's how they passed. So that's one example of, just how mediumship can come across, and also how we can tend to block, mediumship, where we're not always wanting to be open to ghosts or to dead people, coming around. Like, as mediums, if you are a natural medium, or if you're just interested in it, it's not that you necessarily want to stay open all the time. It's not open shop all the time, right? You don't stay at work all the time. You don't necessarily want to be super open as a medium all the time. Now, some people are built that way. Some people really are so open that it can be overwhelming, and that can cause them sometimes to close down. Now, what I would say, if that is you, or if that's familiar to some level or some degree, we want to try to open that back up slowly and carefully, and also this time with boundaries, like to really build in boundaries where you're like, okay, if someone is coming or you're feeling something, to be able to look and see, okay, I see that is probably a ghost, a deceased person, and not right now, I'm busy. I'll talk to you later, and try to either get back to them later, or tell them to come back at a time that's good for you. Be like, okay, let's talk at 6 p.m. tonight, or whatever you want to do. You can make these boundaries for yourself, and you should, actually. And with mediumship, I've also discovered it's one of the easiest things to kind of program. I've made a agreement that the way that I would like to see deceased loved ones is, so right here, it would be the paternal grandparent, or father, so the father, and here's the mother, and then the paternal, his parents, and then their parents, the great-grandparents up here, and the same for the maternal side, so the mother, paternal grandparents, and then theirs up here. And so and then over the face is usually like a friend or a peer. And so that's just kind of the framework, the loose framework that I work with, and I've made that agreement with them. And so they tend to arrange in that fashion. So I would urge you to play around with that and really try to be like, okay, this is what, how I want to see it. And just start practicing. Either join a mediumship group like I did, on Zoom, or get together with friends and just start practicing and start noticing how you receive, because that is what mediumship is great at teaching psychics. They say that, all mediums are psychic, but not all psychic are mediums. which is true, but it is my opinion that you can choose to be a medium. You might not have been, the kind of person that's like, there's ghosts everywhere, and you might not have seen them your whole life. It might not have been super blasted open for you your whole life, in the way that, we hear dramatic stories for other people. I don't think that matters. I'm of the opinion that it does not matter, that you can choose to be a medium, and I think that it is easier now than ever to tune into that level of frequency, to that bandwidth, to tune into that piece of the other side and start exercising those psychic abilities by connecting. Because it's so evidential. It's called evidential mediumship because you're just giving evidence. You're just giving pieces of proof. The other person is saying yes or no. I mean, it's really clear, and it's a clear way to get really accurate and learn how you receive. So I would just urge you, if this is something that you've thought about, if it's something you're interested in, to really start practicing mediumship, because I think it's connected to the sun too. It's my personal opinion. I think the sun is bringing in new light for us that is making mediumship more accessible to everyone. It is kind of just opening up that frequency band so that more people can tune in to the other side, because I think we're really healing the land with this. We're going to really be able, like when we can see who's standing around, in a house or a piece of land, it's easier to understand the history that happened there, and it's easier to heal it. It's easier to listen to the stories and then heal it. You really heal spaces and land and patterns of pain through listening to their story and bearing witness to it. And so that's really what mediums are. They're really witnesses. They're good listeners, and then they turn into the storyteller by portraying the story that they're hearing, but they have to get really good at listening. So something that I'm going to put out soon is my own intuition development course, and that is a big part of it, is resensitizing, getting into the senses, and maybe even a mediumship class if there's enough interest. Comment, like and comment the on this video, and so I'll know if you guys want to get together. We can join on Zoom and practice mediumship and really get that going. Now, something I'm just going to end on is there is also a new phase of mediumship that is really coming forward, has really kind of always been my favorite, and that is cosmic mediumship, or speaking to the cosmos, speaking to people that are not necessarily from Earth, having visitations from aliens, blue people, whatever, it is that you are seeing or whatever you're drawn to. So cosmic mediumship is actually a different it's different on a different level on that frequency. And it's something that I feel like if you're good at mediumship on the human evidential level, and you've really built up that confidence, that psychic confidence, that's really pretty necessary, then you can kind of stretch that bandwidth into a cosmic mediumship style as well. Now, some people can kind of skip it and just go straight into the cosmic mediumship, and that's a thing too. I just like being able to feel a solid groundedness, I should say, with the evidential mediumship that we can learn to build into a cosmic connection, because it's really the receiver. We're still going to receive things the same way. It's just that our frequency of attention and connection is going to be a little different. It's a little different spectrum, right? It's a wide spectrum range. Once you start getting, the extraterrestrial influence, you're kind of on the other, like a stretched higher end of the spectrum. And so you have to be able to have built up the energy to hold that. And I just feel like that comes with, obviously it comes with clearing and with practice and being able to hold the space. So that's kind of where I feel it's kind of the new horizon. That's where the world, I feel like, is going. And that's one of the reasons why I like the idea of building a good foundation with mediumship and choosing to be mediums, choosing to connect to your land and see who's there, see who used to live there, read the history of the land, or the history when you walk into an old house, read the history, feel the history of that house. When you meet someone, like I would practice, my teacher actually told me to go into Walmart and practice looking, at people and seeing their loved ones, not saying anything, not being like weird, but just kind of going into kind of like a place that's not super happy or super high frequency, but being able to hold this space, the spiritual psychic space, enough to be able to read the loved ones on people. Because it is my opinion that if you can do that and not feel like aversion or not feel drained or not, you can stay neutral in kind of like the lower frequency, that builds up psychic ability, and that builds up your sense of compassion. It builds up your heart. You don't and it also is grounding. You don't necessarily want to like feel, like an aversion. I'm only a channel. I'm only this. It's fine if you're only drawn to one thing, but it's good to understand that we're called here to come into difficult places and bring the light into difficult places, right? So sometimes that's how mediumship feels for me, honestly. So that's my message about mediumship, really, ultimately. So please comment if you are interested in some kind of mediumship development circle. If you're interested in psychic development, I would probably be doing these online, but thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one.